Welcome your host, Caddy Frink, as she leads discussions about substance use disorder and the journey to recovery. You're listening to Redefining Recovery, a recovery revolution.
Gotta let it just like hit that magical point there on the music. Hello, 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 everybody who's listening. This is Caddy Frink at Redefining Recovery, a recovery revolution, brought to you by Minnesota Recovery Connection and AM 950, the progressive radio station. I'm here with
Josie,
how exciting. She will be my guest. But let me first say thank you for listening. I hope you are having a lovely day. It will be a beautiful day Saturday. So I want to say a special thanks to our generous funders. Some have sunsetted on their donations to us and funding sources, but we want to always be grateful for the Patrick and Amy Butler Foundation, Otto Brummer Trust, the Sauer Foundation, the Hardenberg Foundation, alongside we've gotten some really good people that are coming around with continuous support for Minnesota Recovery Connection. One of them is Blue Cross Blue Shield. So I just want to say thank you for all of that. For those of you that were at the Walk for Recovery and did some fundraising for us, thank you for all that. For those of you who just have given donations here, there, and everywhere, and any of you that actually have a little extra something in your pocket, right, Josie?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, just let us continue to do our great work. So with that point, Josie, you are a navigator at Minnesota Recovery Connection. But I can't ask that because first I have to ask you, what's right with you today, Josie?
What is right with me? I would say just life right now in this moment today. I went back to work this week after being off for a few months. So just very grateful to be back in such a welcoming and accepting environment at Minnesota Recovery Connection.
Oh my, such a praise we have.
And then what's right with you, Caddy?
Well, I get to go to a gala tonight.
Ooh.
Kind of excited. It's the Steve Remler Hope Network fundraising gala that they have every year, and we're going this year. So that's going to be kind of fun. Get to do a little dress up, do a little fancy schmancy stuff. But along with that, I get to see a good friend. I get to actually sleep in a little bit. I've been just not sleeping well lately. So I'm kind of really looking forward to sleeping in tomorrow.
Yes.
It's going to be great.
Yes.
But as I said, Josie is a navigator at Minnesota Recovery Connection, which means that she works with the AmeriCorps program, and then even more defined through the Recovery Corps program. Why don't you explain to folks, you're on your second term, why don't you explain to people what that's been doing for you and how it's been giving you like some more skills and confidence and all that?
Yeah, so Recovery Corps to me is a professional development program. I have been out of the workforce for quite some years. And, being in recovery, I was ready to get back working, didn't really know where to start, just multitude of factors. One of them being not being able to pass a background check. So that's a huge barrier for employment.
Yep.
And Recovery Corps gave me the opportunity, regardless of my past, and invited me to start working through them. I've noticed a lot of growth in myself, especially, just
so have I, everybody.
Yes. Yeah. So I originally started at Minnesota Recovery Connection as an intern.
Yeah.
So that was about 2 years ago, and then I know, time
Crazy
flies.
town. I know. I gave her like cross-eyed. None of you could see that, but I just like crossed my eyes out. I'm like, it feels like much longer than 2 years in the best of ways, not in a bad way.
Yeah.
And it's like, you started as an intern. When the heck was the intern? Because then. So yeah, it's kind of crazy how time just kind of fills in when we're all working in this harmonious environment.
Yes.
Where you see the growth. So yeah, more about you, please.
Yeah. So I'm a mother in recovery. So being a part of the Recovery Corps program, one of the things is being in recovery yourself.
Right.
Because you are working with individuals who have substance use disorder. So just having that lived experience, with my past, just being able to connect with them on a different level, more say than, a lot of people can, especially if you don't have that lived experience. It can be hard to really connect with someone when you're trying to get help.
Well, I think that's what we call what we do at Minnesota Recovery Connection, which is that peer-to-peer lived experience we can
Right.
share. It's never the same,
No,
but there's
yeah.
always, there's like these little, like a little spider web. It's like, oh, I know what you're talking about because
Yeah.
I've had a similar experience. And I
Right.
think that's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, and just overall, the darkness and pain that can come with substance use disorder. And I think that's really how I connect with people, regardless. Obviously we all have different stories, but we all know what it's like to feel that darkness.
Yeah.
And so just having that commonality, can go a long way in someone's life.
Yeah. Wow. You said it very well, that darkness and that, we close in, right? We
Mhm.
don't want the world to know how much we're struggling or
Yeah.
what we're struggling about,
Yeah.
or we're living in that shameful place.
Mhm.
And I think that's one of the things that, when you think about the listeners who are listening to this all over the United States, as well as I know somebody's listening in both Canada and in the UK. I don't know if we go any longer or farther than that. But the idea is that people who struggle with substance use disorder, we carry a lot of shame, we carry a lot of pain, and we pretty much, some people do it to us,
Mhm.
but we do a lot of it to ourselves.
Oh yeah.
And that's where we can say, you know what, it's okay. You don't have to beat yourself up anymore because chances are you've been doing an excellent job of that.
Oh yeah. Yep. Yep.
So you are on your second term.
Yes.
So why don't you just give some the folks that are listening an idea, because Recovery Corps is one of the programs of AmeriCorps. There's Math Corps, there's Reading Corps, there's Habitat for Humanity. There's a lot of different service years that can be done. What are some of the benefits that you experience with working with Recovery Corps? Like some of the things like they help with childcare and various things. What are some of those things that are benefits?
Yeah, so one of the main things that originally drew me to AmeriCorps is just the fact that you get to keep your state and county benefits. Because I do have 2 children, like I
Which
said.
we're going to talk about soon.
Yes, mother in recovery. And daycare is expensive.
Yeah.
And I get to keep my daycare assistance being employed through AmeriCorps. And so that was huge for me. As well as, just gaining experience in the field, because I am also a student.
She's just a superstar, y'all.
I am in school to become a drug and alcohol counselor.
An LADC, as they call it?
Yes,
Okay.
LADC. So it just gives me a chance to gain experience, because you need experience to work in, the LADC field. So this is all just building me up for my next chapter.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because when I do the training with peer recovery specialists, there are people who are in various spaces like yourself, either in school, going to school, thinking about school, have been LADCs and kind of want to step back because there's a different relationship that we get to have with people that struggle with substance use disorder, doing this peer-to-peer work.
Right.
It's not as clinical. So that's one step you're going to have to make
Yes.
when it comes to that.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of what I've seen in Josie is this ability to really just kind of step into her own comfort with her recovery and step with people. In the beginning, every navigator that comes in who's kind of fresh off the beaten path, they're like, what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to do it? I'm scared to do it. And Rachel admitted last time that she even unplugged her phone.
Yes.
She told me that you kind of busted her out on that one.
Yes. I was like, why isn't your phone ringing?
And, if you think about it, if somebody hasn't worked, that first of all, they've gotten through using substances and they're on the other side.
Yeah.
Okay. You're already just trying to get your head wrapped around, because it takes a while, doesn't it?
Oh, yes. 4.5 years in, and I'm still trying to get my head wrapped around things.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. I appreciate that. We're going to talk about that. And then you go into a formal work environment where there are expectations. We're not pressed hardcore, but we still have to meet you have to personally meet through the program certain guidelines, and then we have some basic things that you need, and then you just still don't know what you're doing. And then you sit in a classroom with me for a week, like, what the heck is all this about? So it's intimidating in the beginning, but what you said is it's a growth spot that a lot of people can benefit from. Just getting back into something.
Yeah, something.
After
Yes.
being out of a lot of things
Yes.
and possibly out of their little mind too.
Mhm.
So we're going to take our first break. I want to thank you, Josie, for being here. We're going to come back and she's going to talk about what it's like to be a mother now of 2 in recovery and what that has looked like for her. I'll probably pepper her with some questions, as you all know.
Please do.
Yes. So thank you for listening to Redefining Recovery, a Recovery Revolution here on AM 950, the progressive radio station, brought to you by Minnesota Recovery Connection. See you back here. Oh, some nice music to bring us back in here on Redefining Recovery, a Recovery Revolution. I'm Caddy Frink. I'm your host, and I'm across the table from who?
Josie.
Josie. And we're from Minnesota Recovery Connection, correct?
Correct.
And what is your position there?
I am a recovery navigator there through
Oh.
AmeriCorps.
Through AmeriCorps. Got to throw out props where props are.
Yes.
You know, I got to say, one of the benefits that we have, other than you and Rachel and soon to be Eddie and Lorraine at one point and Kinsey and now Ryan and a couple of other individuals, is the AmeriCorps program benefits us both, right?
Right.
You get to have a relaunch of your next whatever.
Yes.
And Minnesota Recovery Connection gets these incredible people who want to give back, but they're just not sure what that's going to look like. So that's where the fear steps in for the first couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really an opportunity. So anybody who's listening to this, if you're curious, go to the AmeriCorps website, look at all the different opportunities they have in different fields as well. And there's a lot of benefits to it. It's a federally funded program, so there's always requirements that happens there. But it's really been one of the most important parts of Minnesota Recovery Connection because we can offer free services. And, you know, we have billable services, as we call it, so those people are insured and we offer services. But our foundational piece is helping people and meeting them where they're at. And sometimes people have no money, and that's just fine.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we need your donations. Okay, that was just a little plug. So Josie came back from maternity leave, and she started her next season. No, it's not season. Term on Monday, you said.
Mm-hmm.
So what I would like you to do is, why don't you give us a little snapshot of what was your journey in substance use? You got into recovery and then here you are. So give us a little trajectory.
Okay, yeah. So I got into recovery about 4.5 years ago, May 17th, 2021.
Not that she remembers or anything.
Right.
Yeah, thank you.
I like
Good.
I'm counting the days. You know, I got an app on my phone that tells me how long I've been in recovery for.
Nice.
Yeah,
Good.
down to the second.
Hey, we'll take every moment we can count. That's
Yes.
fabulous.
Me and my fiance, we were using substances together for years.
Do you want to identify what those are? Because it helps people out in the world kind of go, like, what does somebody like Josie use? Because what it does is it maybe normalizes it that other people use these too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My substance that I very liked much so was methamphetamine and alcohol.
Okay.
And so my fiance and I, we fell in love we first met when we were sober, and we fell in love.
Okay.
So we knew each other sober. We
Mhm.
did end up reusing together for a few years. But we still had that.
Was there something that happened that brought you back to using? Because sometimes when you meet when you're sober or in early recovery and then you have a reuse, was there something that happened or was it just life?
I wasn't stable in my recovery.
Okay.
I didn't count myself as somebody in recovery. I didn't want to be in recovery at the time. Yeah, I was really only doing it for probation.
Okay.
And yeah, we just, reused together. There wasn't really a certain situation.
It just happens.
Yeah, it just happened.
Because it is a lifestyle.
Yeah.
If you're not going to like put a whole ton of effort into it,
right,
you can kind of get drawn back into it because it's fun.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. It's fun and you get to forget about all your problems.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And create new ones too.
Oh, lots of new ones. Yes. So we had that foundation of, we knew each other already when we were sober, apart from the substances.
Nice.
So I think that had a lot to do with our success. May 17th, 2021, we both decided to go to treatment on the same day. And from then on, we've remained in recovery.
Mhm.
3 months into our recovery, we started a family. So now, I'm newly into recovery, which I wanted to stick with. I
Yep.
knew I wanted to because that lifestyle was not for me.
Yeah.
I could no longer look at myself in the mirror, and I no longer had relationships with my family,
Mm.
and that was really hard.
Yeah, all those things get compromised, don't they?
Yeah.
Even if you want a relationship with them, now she's tearing up on me. We can't have that because then I'll start to cry. But that you're right. When you go back into use, all those relationships just get compromised.
They do.
To
Yeah.
a woman coming into tears right now. So
Yeah.
you wanted it all back.
Oh, I did. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Um, so let's see. 3 months into our recovery, we started a family. So, now I'm dealing with these new identities, which was very hard for me because I never even really had an identity before. And I think that's a huge reason why I started using substances, because I didn't know who I was.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I just wanted to fit in. I wanted to belong. And so, now I'm dealing with being newly in recovery. Now I'm a mother in
Now,
recovery.
were you in recovery when you were pregnant?
I was, yes.
Okay.
So I got pregnant 3 months into my recovery.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So these new identities, that was so scary.
Wow.
And something I still struggle with now is survivor's guilt. And so I'll kind of talk about that a little bit. Survivor's guilt is I feel guilty because why do I get recovery and to build my life back up when others don't? What's so special about me?
Because you've been working at it, love.
Yeah.
You've been working at it. And again, folks, you can hear the tears behind this, which is but it's so important that you are very real here, because recovery has a lot of different phases.
Yeah.
And you feel guilty, the survivor's guilt, that why can't other people get this? Because geez Louise, it works.
Yeah, it does. And it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Recovery is beautiful. And it's, something that I can gift to my children.
Oh, beautiful. And so she has a lovely daughter who is now how old?
3.
3. And so I'm going to let her compose herself and talk for a couple of minutes. She's doing okay. Take a sip of water. Seriously, take a sip of water. It's what I really want to honor, Josie, is that these are real, raw emotions. And when people are listening to this, when they hear somebody who has such deep, profound feelings around being in recovery, survivor's guilt as well as pure bliss and joy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
And imagine somebody who's in their new recovery or is contemplating it, and they're looking at both those sides of that. So folks who are listening, think about that. You've got somebody who has been using substances for whatever reasons, sees a person who's in recovery, is envious and wants that, but can't quite fit those two pieces together. And then you get a young woman on the radio with Caddy who's like in tears because those two collided again, didn't they, just now?
Yeah.
How beautiful is that?
Yeah.
Because that's you finding you again.
Right.
You get to fit those two pieces together. I'm just telling you, girl, you're amazing. So keep talking, please.
Yeah. So, just going off of the beautiful gift of recovery that I can give my kids, I think that goes hand in hand with breaking these generational curses.
Yeah.
I know you don't like the addiction language.
No.
Okay.
No, we use all languages because they're all very relevant. We just like to say, somebody who's sober can be sober, but then find recovery, or somebody has a relapse. We can just reframe that as a reuse, or it's still a relapse. It's all the same darn tootin' thing. Yeah, I am a teacher. You know that. So I like to correct stuff.
Yes.
Not correct it. Just give it another phase. But please continue.
Addiction runs in my family.
Yeah.
I probably would say everybody in my family has or had some sort of addiction or mental illness.
Wow.
So, this is just something that I'm doing so that I can break that generational curse, because it is a curse. It is.
It absolutely.
It might be a beautiful curse, but
it has its, as you said very well, some very dark sides.
It does, yes.
Yeah, because those dark personalities come out when they are consumed by something that is not a good chemical in their system.
Right.
And then all of a sudden behaviors change.
Yeah.
And those behaviors really are probably not the real human, but you get altered in your mind and how you see reality. And so anybody who's listening, if they've ever seen somebody who's either used alcohol or used any kind of illicit drug, and you see their personality change, that's generally not who they are, but
Right.
that's the substance kind of getting them thinking in this weird and wacky place.
Yeah.
And boy, we will justify the
Oh,
bejesus out of it, won't we?
yes, we
Yeah,
will.
I'm just fine.
Right.
Aren't you just fine, Josie?
Yeah.
Drunk as a skunk or high as a kite?
Right.
Yeah, we're just fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, not so much.
And like I said earlier, I'm perfect. Everybody else is the problem.
Because that is just the way we think about it when we're
Yeah.
locked in that space of really not understanding. Like you had said, you didn't know who you were.
Yeah.
So what you did was you followed a group, you followed a people, you followed some activities that made you feel part of it. Think about that from the gang mentality, from the mobster mentality, from those who are selling substances out on the streets. They're forming their own little posse of some kind because somehow we're all more or less thinking the same. We all have the same ideals, not identities, but ideals, and we can all we can gather together. And you just wanted someplace to belong.
Yeah.
So much. And so then here you are, you've got one baby. Now what happened next?
Yeah. So I had a baby boy 2 months ago.
Woo-woo! What's his name?
His name is Lucas.
Lucas.
Yes. And so now my identities are being in recovery and a mom.
Right.
And then, you add another baby to the mix, and now your identity almost shifts again.
Yeah.
Because being a mother of one is so different than being a mother of two.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, you're dealing with two different emotional needs, different stages of development, and it takes a lot. It takes a village for sure, and a big support system, which I have, and I'm very grateful for.
Yes.
And one of the big things that I was so worried about was, do I have enough love for another human?
What an interesting thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like how, I love my daughter so much and she gets all my love. How am I going to add another one to the mix?
And then you got a partner too.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. She loves him too.
Yeah, I do.
But it's an adult love. It's a
Yeah.
different kind of relationship. But
Right.
it's still important. It needs nurturing.
Oh, absolutely.
But then
yeah.
you got a new little Luke going on
Mhm.
there.
Yeah. And so, you're overwhelmed,
Mhm.
but I also feel more grounded at the same time. When my son came, I just felt complete. Like that was the missing thing, and so just
It sounds like it filled it I remember when you first came to work with us and you had your daughter, and I remember we went out to a couple of events together.
Yeah.
So much fun with your kiddo. And when you got pregnant, it wasn't like, oh geez, it was like, oh wow,
Yeah.
this is really exciting, because I
Yeah.
think what I picked up is that this is what you have wanted to do.
yeah.
Sometimes it's a surprise to people, which is
Right.
just fine. But then when it's wanted and you're kind of have planned on it, you wanted to
Mhm.
have another child, there was this exuberance in you. It's like, besides the fact you're cute as a pumpkin when you were pregnant, my goodness, she was just like this. She's a very small, petite young lady, and then she's like this basketball in front of her, and she was always going to the kitchen to eat. It was so funny. It was so funny. But you got to nourish that little human inside you and you to carry it.
Yeah.
But I know you kept growing and growing, and you never compromised. Like, I can't do this because I've got to, Caddy, I'm pregnant, so I can't work. You were devoted to doing the job that we needed you to do.
Oh yeah.
But most importantly, what you wanted to do.
Yes, because at the end of the day, I am doing this for my children.
Mhm.
Yes, I'm doing this for my own recovery, but that all contributes to who I am as a mother.
Mhm.
Period. So if I don't have my recovery, then how do I have my children?
Right. And how do you break that generational trauma that's been implanted? And then
Right.
also, what you're also doing is you're building your recovery community.
Mhm.
You have the MRC family, but I know you also, as we grow in our recovery, we don't necessarily we can build more people in, but we just see life with just so much more joy and so much more acceptance.
Yeah.
And even if somebody is having their worst day, you can say, but you have today.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes people have to be reminded, even on the worst day, it's like, thanks for stopping in. So you had a busy day. I think it was yesterday. You were you were taking new participants in. What does it look like when you are meeting somebody for the first time? So we've wrapped up. Josie's had 2 babies and she's fabulous. Okay. What I also want you to do is share what you have been able to learn in your position as a navigator, and what does it sound like, maybe not one person, like what does it sound like when you meet somebody where they're at when you're meeting a new person?
So meeting somebody where they're at, to me, is whatever they're going through, whatever place they are in their life, I'm here for them, regardless, if they're still using, if they have years in recovery, a few days in recovery, I'm here for them wherever they are, and I'm going to support them regardless of, if they don't show up to a meeting because they're using. That's okay. That's totally okay.
No judgment.
No judgment here.
Yeah.
I know how hard recovery can be, especially in the early stages. So yeah, just meeting somebody where they're at, accepting them regardless of where they came from.
Sometimes people are, and I don't mean unpredictable, like harmful, but unpredictable in how they emotionally show up. Would that be accurate?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Cause it could be, different one week from the previous week.
Right.
Yeah.
So sometimes when people are off substances, like you say, one week you meet them and now they're a week in recovery, they might feel incredibly different, or they might feel really awful.
Yeah.
Would that be accurate?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Because when we're having those substances leave our system that we're so used to having, I've talked about sort of the science of addiction, which I cannot be a scientist, that's for darn tootin' sure. But when all you've been putting in this dopamine and this all these chemicals in a fake way, when it starts going out, your body goes, I don't know what to do now. So I'm just going to feel like poop at this point.
Right.
And so sometimes people show up sort of like uninterested, unexcited. How do you give them an opportunity to perk up a little bit? What does that look like?
I like to use humor.
Nice.
I would say I'm a pretty goofy person.
Yeah, she's got a good giggle here, folks.
So I really like to incorporate that because I think that humor can be an icebreaker, make somebody feel more comfortable. Like, oh, maybe, life doesn't have to be so serious, because it doesn't. And yeah, I think that just using that lighthearted goofiness really attracts people.
Nice.
And makes them feel comfortable. And so, yeah, that's what I like to do.
Yeah. Well, and I think sometimes that gives people permission to sort of relax and maybe use some humor they might have themselves, because I think a lot of times what can happen in the industry of addiction and treatment, and that is you come in, you fill out the paperwork, here's what you're going to do, here's how you're going to do it. And in our case, they come in, we got to fill out some paperwork because we just got to do what we got to do.
Yeah.
But then we get to turn the table and say, and what do you want to do?
Right.
And they're like, huh? That's not the way it's always looked, right?
Yeah.
When you say that to people, it's like you say, hey, what do you want to do in your recovery? What's been that experience like?
I find that people at first, have a long pause, trying to really gather their thoughts about what do I want in recovery? Because I feel like a lot of times people don't think of that right away. They think of, okay, I just have to stop using.
Right.
And that is their main focus, which I think can kind of be a bad thing, because once you focus on that so much and then you start to have these like triggering thoughts that maybe you want to go out and use, that's when you just get more shame and guilt.
Right.
So asking somebody what they want in their recovery, it's always a different answer.
And I think sometimes because I don't work directly with, but I work directly with, so it's sort of like one step removed. I think the other thing that comes to my mind, and that is when you say, hey, what would you like to do with your recovery? Like you said, somebody, they're stonewalled. They're like, I don't know.
Right.
what's your need of the day? What do you need right now?
Yeah.
And so sometimes I think we have to think about when we're asking people when they're struggling with trying to figure out what their next steps are, what would help you right now? What
Yeah.
would be the one thing that we could put some energy into, or what would you like to do? Because I think sometimes we have to break down I mean, we think of recovery and we think of getting sober, we think of addiction. It's a monster.
Yeah.
And we got to break this baby down.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so you use a little bit of humor and ask them what they're looking for. And then I think one of the key goals that when I go through training, that is simplify things.
Yeah.
And how does that look to you when you do that? And would you set small goals for people?
Yeah, we'll set small goals. At first, a lot of times people just kind of like word vomit all these goals and great plans that they want, and that's amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But let's focus on short-term goals right now.
Attainable goals.
Attainable goals,
Yeah.
yes. And we can have these long-term goals
Mhm.
and take steps, slowly and to get to that point.
Yeah. I know many people come in and they're like looking for housing. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
I want a house and I'd like a backyard and maybe a
Right.
pool and like a 2-car garage. And we're like, and when was the last time you lived in a house
Mhm.
that had a pool and 2-car garage?
Right.
We have to sort of set the bar at a realistic level.
Right.
And so that goes for people who are also struggling with substances and I'm always going to dial it back to the people who are out there, not us, because we know what we're talking about to a certain degree.
Yeah.
But people who love people who are struggling with substances, simplify the situation, folks.
Mhm.
Simplify it.
Yeah.
Don't ask somebody to go to treatment without them having any idea what treatment looks like. Don't ask them to stop using substances when they've been doing it for years.
Right.
Because that don't work, does it?
No, it does not.
Got to slow roll because
Yeah.
it's really super important. And this is where what we talk about meeting somebody where they're at. Josie's talking about sometimes people have used chemicals, sometimes they haven't, sometimes they're on a long journey of recovery. And then you think, well, why would anybody? So somebody who's been on a journey of recovery, why have they called you? What was that? What does that look like?
A lot of times it's, they might not have anybody else to connect with. People go to therapy and go to treatment, meet with a alcohol and drug counselor. But a lot of times, and I think this is where like the informal part of peer-to-peer comes in.
Yep.
Working with a counselor, like that can be pretty intimidating. Just that authority that they have,
Yep.
The education behind their name, that's intimidating.
Mhm.
And so a lot of times, people, they truly just want somebody to connect with.
Nice.
Yeah. And I find that just having a simple conversation doesn't even necessarily have to be about recovery. I was talking to somebody yesterday and we were just talking about all sorts of things, like Grand Marais and this and that. And like,
Fall.
And he told me, he's like, wow, like this conversation has just helped me so much.
Oh,
And it's like, we didn't even really tackle anything, but just talking.
right.
is
Having a
huge.
connection.
Yeah.
Because I think, and one of the things you said earlier on, and that is we lose ourselves, we lose our community,
Mhm.
possibly lose our family.
Yep.
So having somebody who'll just have a conversation with you and just listen to you.
Yeah.
When you talked about either having a therapist or treatment or an LADC, they're more clinical. So there are
Mhm.
expectations that have to be met. And somebody who's on their journey in recovery sometimes doesn't want to have any expectations. They just want to show up. And I think that's exactly what you beautifully articulated. You didn't really talk about recovery. You're talking about Grand Marais,
Right.
maybe this, maybe that.
Yeah.
I mean, how much more inviting in that is. And then say, hey, you know what? This has been a really good conversation. Okay, one of the darn things I got to do is we got to just come up with one goal,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Because there's an element of true professionalism in the position.
Mhm.
So I don't want to just say we're just sitting around gabbing.
Right. Right.
And I'm not suggesting you're doing that, but so there's a what you said, which I thought was just great, is that we get to be human. We get to just have a conversation and we get to start it off casually. We get to do it so we gain respect, somebody we build rapport.
Mhm.
And so this is for people who are also looking to like reconnect with people that maybe have been in recovery and they feel like, well, you drank together or you used together. You're so different. No, you're not. You still
Mhm.
got common stories.
Yeah.
They might look different now, but go out and have coffee rather than a cocktail.
Yeah.
And the idea is that the most important thing to do is to connect with people.
Mm-hmm.
And then as a profession, we need to do some sort of legitimate goal work, but that only helps the person because then they can see what they can achieve.
Yeah.
And that's how we sort of piece this whole thing together. Wow, Josie, you're amazing. So we're going to take our second break. And she's just got this big smile, y'all. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but she's just so darn cute. So we're going to come back and just sort of conclude this conversation. But who is this?
Josie.
Josie. And what are you at Minnesota Recovery Connection?
I'm a recovery navigator.
Sweet. So we're going to come back to Redefining Recovery, Recovery Revolution here on AM 950, brought to you by Minnesota Recovery Connection. Go get something to drink and come back. And, well, you know what I mean by something to drink, something non-alcoholic, preferably. But please go take a break and come back and we'll finish up the show. Thank you for listening.
This year of being alone.
So we got that happy music coming back, jamming to the tunage. Hi, y'all. I'm sort of in a weird mood. Josie and I just had a little fun conversation. So my name is Caddy Frink. I am your host to Redefining Recovery, Recovery Revolution here on AM 950, the progressive radio station. Josie, say your name to everybody.
I'm Josie.
There she is. So Josie, if you've been listening, has been talking about her experience as a woman in recovery, as a mother in recovery, working as a recovery navigator at Minnesota Recovery Connection, kind of the joining of who she wanted to be and is now. Now we're going to take a journey on where does she want to go? So you mentioned that you're going to school for LADC, right? Where are you going?
Metro State.
Metro State.
Yep.
They've got a good program, don't they?
They do, and they have an amazing student parent program as well.
Sweet. Say
Yes.
a couple words about that.
Oh my gosh. So, if you ever have any needed accommodations because something happened with your children, all you got to do is shoot an email to your professor and they're going to accommodate that specifically just because you have children. Yeah. And they give monthly care packages for parents.
Wow, that's never a bad thing. What's in a care package?
Oh man, snacks, diapers, wipes, bottles, baby bottles.
Since we had to clarify the drinking thing there.
Yeah, pacifiers, clothing. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Do they do it age appropriate? Like if you've got
Yep.
kiddos that are this or that?
Yeah,
Okay.
they do.
How nice is that?
I know. It's amazing.
Wow.
Yep.
Oh boy, kudos. I mean, Metro State has always done an amazing job with the recovery community. We've had a
Yep.
relationship with them for a while. We've done I wouldn't say several, we've done a few events with them
Yeah.
over the course of the years. How wonderful is that? Because then you don't feel like you're being beholden to oh my God, if I miss class, this is going to be a problem, right?
Right. Because stuff happens all the time with kids,
Does it?
Yeah. So yeah, it's just reassuring,
Yeah.
that they're going to work with you.
How
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
How nice. So you're going to probably do another year of Recovery Core because it gives you the experience. So why do you want to do that? And where do you think you want to go? I know this is sort of like dreamland. So let's
Yeah.
go into dreamland here.
Yeah. Well, I've reflected a lot on this, just thinking about who I want to be and where I want to go. I am going to do, so you can only do 4 terms with AmeriCorps. I
Okay.
am going to do all 4 terms just to gain that experience for when I do graduate, which will be a couple more years. But I'll be able to, say, yeah, I have 4 years experience in the field, and that's going to be huge for me. It's going to bring
be
me
a shoe in the
places.
door.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to become an alcohol and drug counselor.
Do you want to
I-
work with a particular population? Have you thought about that? Or is that still open for
I kind of want to do assessments. So that's
say what that is? Because
yes.
some people won't know what that is.
Okay, so being a chemical dependency assessor is when somebody, say they get in trouble with the law and they're required by the courts to get a chemical health assessment done to see what their level of need is treatment-wise. I would be the person determining their level of need based on what they told me. Yeah.
Evaluating kind of, I imagine there's several different areas of criteria,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Okay.
And then just referring them out. Yeah.
To whatever it is would be next. Is it treatment? Is it inpatient? Is it outpatient? Is it maybe they just need some sort of sober living or sober home, but they
Right.
need to have an assessment to be able to get into,
Yep.
because it's complex when people are, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I sort of know this stuff. So when somebody wants to go into some sort of program in a lot of different venues, they need to be assessed because somebody on the other side has to know the level of care they need. Is that accurate?
Correct, because there's different intensities of treatment.
Okay.
So, you have the low intensity, medium intensity, and high intensity.
Okay.
So someone with maybe not as severe of a substance use disorder might go to a low intensity program.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, so that sounds it sounds kind of interesting. And it really sounds like the perfect door from what you have been doing for the last couple, 2-3 years to
Yeah.
do a couple more years, because you've literally met people at that space where they don't know what they want to do.
Right.
And you have that humor, as
Mhm.
you've said, to sort of say, hey, it's okay. Let's just break this down.
Yeah.
Let's just have a good conversation. You need this assessment to get to the next place.
Mhm.
And it's okay to be not okay today.
Yeah.
And that's, I think people need permission to know that even on their worst day, it's okay.
Yeah.
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 So I want to step back just for a little bit. When we first started talking, that you had a justice impacted background,
Yeah.
and that became a barrier to you. And I don't need to know the details of that,
Sure.
but so did that impact jobs? Did it impact housing? Where did that impact come?
Yeah, so it ultimately, I started school to get my associate degree originally, and by the end of those 2 years, I needed somewhere to do my internship, and that would have had to been at an organization that is within like the human services fields, which is
Right.
pretty broad. So
Pretty
there was
broad, yeah.
lots of opportunities, but most organizations you have to pass a DHS background check. And that's something that I just wasn't able to do. So that was a huge barrier. I reached out to so many places, and it was very overwhelming because it's like this is the thing that was holding me back from getting my degree was this darn internship. Yeah.
Wow.
And I found Minnesota Recovery Connection, met with Sarah,
Mhm.
and she was like, yeah, you can do your internship here, no problem.
Right, because we don't
And-
do a DHS background check. We do
Yeah.
a light and breezy background check, and also we want people to be honest with us, so we know.
Yeah. Yeah, so Minnesota Recovery Connection gave me this chance, and that's why I have so much loyalty to Minnesota Recovery Connection because
We gave you a chance.
yeah, period.
And the reason why I kind of wanted to step into that is that the justice impact and the substance use and addiction and trauma and family dysfunction, they're all in this big soup together. And what Josie encountered wanting to do all the right things, going to school, being a good person, thinking about having a family on her road to recovery, had this barrier.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes diligence. And also, I'll bet you every now and then you were struggling and like, maybe I should just throw this out into the trash and screw it, basically.
Oh yeah.
Just give up because
Mhm.
nobody wants me. I'm feeling
Right.
alone again.
Yep.
I don't belong anywhere. Would that be accurate?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So imagine people when their individuals are out in the community and they're trying to get it together and they have these barriers
Mhm.
and they keep coming back to their family or their friends and saying, I just keep running up against this. And it's like, well, you shouldn't have done it. Well, that's already done.
Yeah.
So words of encouragement. Can we reach out to our organization, reach out to other organizations that have a justice involvement friendly environment? Because look what can come of it.
Yeah.
And that's Josie.
Yeah. And, now I applied for a set aside.
That's right. So a set aside means we just get to put everything that was kind of in the past.
Mhm.
We get to put it in its own little box and it gets to just live way up on a shelf and nobody knows about it anymore. Right?
Yep. And then you can pass a background check.
Yeah.
And, I worked on my set aside for hours and hours and hours. I think what I typed up was almost 10 pages of, what I've done, things I've done differently since then, and where I'm going. and I was approved. And so now my opportunities are literally endless.
Boundless.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that we get to do on a regular basis is be that advocate for people at Minnesota Recovery Connection and say, hey, you know what? I see you.
Yeah.
I see you, and you are a good human, and you've done good things. So write that all down on pieces of paper and submit it to DHS. And that's one of the things that we do at Minnesota Recovery Connection. Well, Josie, it has been a pleasure.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Absolutely. She's got such a good story. And I've just seen, we had a conversation a couple of days ago, and I said, Josie, I think you need to come on the show. And of course, you got red and hot and like couldn't fathom the idea. But these are the stories that we want to tell of all the different ways that people come into their recovery. So thank you for being here. Say goodbye to the folks.
Goodbye, folks. And if you're thinking about getting into recovery, do it.
Okay. Nice messaging there. Thank you for listening to Redefining Recovery, a recovery revolution here on AM 950. My name is Caddy Frink. I'm your host and brought to you by Minnesota Recovery Connection. Thank you for listening. Have a marvelous day.